welcome to State of the Franchise, the podcast that talks about franchises of all shapes, sizes, backgrounds, genres, and types. I'm your host, Tom Stadler, here with my wingman this week, co-host, Fred Dakin. That was too perfect.
That wasn't even what I've been saving all week.
Oh.
That was just off the dome.
Wow. Well, you really are embodying the wingman this week, Fred.
Yeah, it's a good week because we're talking about one of my favorite things. I was going to say favorite foods, but I just love everything about buffalo wings.
Oh, yeah, man. I can just get down with a good buffalo wing. I mean, when you're watching the game, you know, and I know you're not a sports guy necessarily, but I love watching like a basketball game or a football game and just having like a nice wing in my hand because it just feels like I'm at home, you know?
Definitely. And, you know, we've done food podcast episodes before. We've had great guests, and we have great guests today. But before we get into that, I have a gift for you.
Fred, you shouldn't have.
And this isn't a gift that I can just give to you with my hands.
Mm-hmm.
This is a gift that I'm going to give to you with my voice.
Oh, please.
Well, when my best friend said, "Do you want some wings?" I said I'd have some. When the first bite tasted so damn good, I had another one. Flats and the drums. Flats and the drums. With the messy hands. And I don't give a damn. 'Cause I'm having fun with my flats and my drums. All right, yeah, that's what I had. But when you were hungry and your stomach was an empty pit, you used to say we could get wings.
You know you did, you know you did, you know you did.
And with so many choices in this world that we live in, makes you hungry inside. Eating chicken tonight.
That is not only a great wing parody, but that is the best Bond theme song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think the world would have enough of buffalo sauce? I look around me and I see it isn't so. People in the world just love some buffalo sauce. What's wrong with that? With my flats and my drums. With my flats and my drums.
I'm going to have a very difficult time cutting any of that.
Why would you cut any of it?
Because we have a long and very fun episode ahead. But before we even get any further into our episode, Fred, why don't we introduce our esteemed guests here? Back from our pizza tournament episode, we have Mr. Joe Francisco.
Hello. Glad to be back and talking food.
Yeah, buddy. And Miss Jasmine Gonzalez.
Hello. Oh, God, my voice. I'm a teen boy today.
All right. That means you've just been having a good time recently.
I've been having a
And
great
these are
time.
both three-timers, right? The Three-Timers Club?
I think they might even be four-timers now at this point, Fred, because we had Joe on, what was it?
I was there for Dragon Ball.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, Dragon Ball.
Batman.
Yep.
And then, of course, the pizza tournament.
Yep. That's right.
I'm also a four-timer. I got Taco Bell, Battlestar Galactica,
Yep.
and the pizza tournament.
All right. So four-timers club. You guys might be the first members of the five-timer club, unless Josh Randall keeps sneaking in here every once in a while. Which he's on pace. He's lined up for a couple. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that today. We're here to talk about buffalo wings. So for anyone who's not familiar with what a buffalo wing is, buffalo wings do come from the American city, Buffalo, New York. They are an American cuisine of a unbreaded chicken wing, which is a very controversial definition, I feel like, considering where the chicken wing has come to. But they can be flats or drums, as Fred was singing about so eloquently.
They were all wing songs.
Yeah, it's
I didn't know if I just wanted to say that.
it's Paul McCartney's second best band, really.
But yeah, that is controversial because I could be wrong, but I was doing a little peeping at the wings we had on the table, and I think one of these at least break the rules of this, and we'll get into that.
I do think so, because they say they're generally deep fried and then coated or dipped in a sauce consisting of a vinegar-based cayenne pepper hot sauce and melted butter prior to serving. So it's interesting that they describe it that way, because this is the official Wikipedia definition. So I'll just be clear on that, because I think what we're going to find in the restaurants we chose today, that as you said, there is much different variety of how to make a hot wing, and I don't even know if that's my favorite way to make a hot wing.
Oh wow!
Deep fry. But of course, the 5 franchises we are talking about today are Buffalo Wild Wings, Wings Over Milwaukee in this case, WingStreet, which is a branch of Pizza Hut, Domino's, and Wingstop. So I guess what I'd like to start here, though, guys, is get your experience with hot wings to date. Like, what were some of your earliest memories of having hot wings, and what are your favorite memories you've had so far, and what are your experiences with any of these franchises? Joe, do you want to lead us off here?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so I think I have a similar experience to you, Tom, where, when I think of wings, I think of more like sporting events, being in, a bar, enjoying some wings with my buds, maybe a couple brews. That's kind of my ideal experiences. But I think the first time, I think really Domino's was probably some of the first wings that we would have a lot as kids.
Wow.
Because, being a 90s kid, we just ate terribly. We had terrible nutrition. We'd want anything convenient. So hey, Domino's, I love pizza. Then we get a side of wings too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. So you would go to Domino's, would you get pizza and wings, or was this explicitly a trip to get hot wings?
It would usually actually be a delivery order to get pizza, but then we get some of those wings. We'd be like, hey, I'm kind of digging these wings more than the pizza.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just, wings, it's just that comfort food.
Very much so. And they've come a long way. I think everything at Domino's has come a long way. But, have you had either of these other restaurants' wings before?
I believe I've had them all except Wings Over. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for that. Wingstop, I think. I've had that before, and I've always loved it. So I don't know if I've had their buffalo sauce wings yet, but all their other wings have been great.
Interesting. Okay. Jasmine, what about you?
My earliest experience, I think, eating wings, my mom has always been a really big fan of buffalo wings. And I think it was one of those things where we'd order on a Friday night, pizza and wings. And obviously as a kid, I always wanted the pizza because wings are so spicy. But then I would always see how much my mom would enjoy eating them. And I finally got to a point where I was okay, I want to try one. And it was magic. I was oh my God, it's chicken, but it's spicy, it's savory, it's so good. I don't remember where we got them from. It might have been Rosati's, which is a Chicagoland area chain. And I'm pretty sure they still have good wings. I haven't had them in a long time. But yeah, it was just that memory of me and my mom. Then we would eat wings together. We would just get a craving for them. We're do you want to just go order some wings? So that's kind of my experience with them. And I think I am always a pretty classic buffalo wing. That's usually what I end up gravitating towards. I might try a different flavor here or there if it's interesting, but buffalo is always the way to go. And yeah, I think in terms of these franchises, I have had, I think all of them except for Wingstop. But I'm actually the one that pitched Wings Over as kind of the dark horse here, because that is something that I also grew up with. I discovered that in the Chicagoland area. It was Wings Over Evanston, and then they opened up here in Milwaukee, and so I would eat that all the time as a college student. Just get their dip tendies meal or some wings. So yeah, that's my buffalo story.
Well, it's an interesting story too, because I think what we're talking about here today is some franchises that are nationwide, and it's kind of a segue over to Fred a little bit too, in terms of a lot of the places that I feel growing up around the Midwest were kind of Midwest establishments. You're talking about Wings Over, where you had Wings Over Evanston, and then you have Wings Over Milwaukee now. But then there was also a lot of wing places around here. like just to even give my quick overview, like I would have wings from a place that was called Damon's, and that was kind of a Wisconsin establishment for a long time, known for their ribs. But that was one of my earliest memories, was going and watching like WWF like pay-per-view events, and we'd order like wings and ribs and like all these different appetizers, and that was like the first time I was like, oh, hot wing, this is really good. But yeah, it was probably a while until I even had one of these chains outside of like maybe like Domino's. But really, yeah, it was Buffalo Wild Wings was like the first time I really got to go like, ooh. But Fred, knowing you're not from the Midwest area, what were kind of the establishments, and was it any of these franchises we're talking about today?
Man, back in my day, we had to go through 2 feet of snow, uphill to go get wings. No, but like I grew up in a small town, and I feel in the early 90s, there weren't that many wing chains. Like this is a somewhat new thing. I don't know when Buffalo Wild Wings came out, but I feel like that's, at least in where I grew up, that wasn't around. So wings was when I was at brag to a sports bar, like as a kid, they'd be like, here's some wings, we're gonna watch the game. So definitely occupying time with some food while everyone else watched sports, because I do love the food around sports. Like I love going to your Super Bowl party, but I'm not gonna watch the damn game. I'm just gonna eat your food. But there was also a time I'm like, pretty much my mom was like single parent for most of our lives, and we did a lot of eating out because it's just her working and then coming home. And there was a period in my life from like probably like 15 to 16, 17 where wherever we went, if they had wings, I was getting that as a meal. Like I would just get the buffalo wings, and always buffalo. When I went to college, I was trying more local places. Like the place I would always get wings in Milwaukee, I'd shout out Zana's. Oh. Zana's had great wings, but the best thing was they had steak cut fries and homemade ranch sauce. Ooh. And for $2.50, you could get like a brown bag that was huge of fries with their home or in-house made ranch. And it was great. I used to get Caribbean jerk flavor from there the most. Oh, yeah.
Interesting. I've actually never been to this place before, so this is the first time even hearing of this.
Yeah. They're on the end of street of like Brady Street, right?
Right where Brady does that drop off. It's right there. And their pizza was pretty good. You could get a giant pretzel from there. I don't know what it's like now, because I haven't been there since pre-COVID, but it was one of my favorite places. And as far as like flavor preference, my move is always to get like usually 12 wings, 12 to 15, whatever they're selling, and I'd get half like buffalo, and then the other half, it's going to be some sort of wild flavor. Like a lot of the times they have kind of like an Asian vibe going. Like I know Buffalo Wild Wings has that Asian zing that has a lot of good spice and sweetness to it. That's usually the combo for me, is the hot buffalo and the Asian zing wings.
Wow.
And just that, and then like a light beer, or just like a very crisp beer.
Nice. That's the right way to go. And that's a good point you brought up too, is like, what is your flavor preference? So I kind of go back to you guys too, of what is your flavor that you go for?
I'm not a big spicy guy. I can't really handle spicy foods. So if they do have buffalo sauce, I usually go for more of like a mild. But like Fred's saying, something like an Asian zing, like a Caribbean jerk type of like, it's got a little bit of spice, but there's some sweetness to cut into it, so it's not as spicy. That's more what I gravitate towards.
Interesting.
And also drummies all day.
Drummies
all day.
Oh, man.
Flats versus drummies, man. I do love flats and drummies equally. Like they both have their like redeeming qualities.
Same.
I think like, so I always like talk about coming from the Chicagoland area. There's always like a debate on like, is deep dish pizza like pizza? And so I always say like for any kind of food category is like, if I just say like we're having pizza, like what is your mental template? And I always say deep dish pizza does not fit that. Like if you bring me a deep dish pizza without telling me we're having deep dish, like I'm disappointed. I feel like that's the same way with wings. If you just say like, come over, we're having wings, like I'm thinking like buffalo, like medium heat, some like blue cheese or ranch, like carrots, celery, like that's the spread. Like I love other flavors, and I will get down with like, I think with Korean fried chicken wings also becoming like a really popular thing. Like a lot of places have taken like oh, we'll put some like gochujang and like honey or like whatever. So like that stuff's really good too. But like if you're just telling me like we're having wings, like I'm fully expecting buffalo wings unless otherwise noted.
Yeah, I'm disappointed if it's just other stuff and there isn't that buffalo, like,
Yeah.
what's that word? Bailiwick? Bellwether? It's a fancy word for like a thing that's standard.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We're gonna have people look that up, our researchers.
I'm gonna look that up right now.
Perfect.
Bailiwick.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing that there is almost like a standard now that if you are going to have wings, you do need to have a spread, right? Like it's almost like having a cheese board. Like you can't just have one type of cheese or you're not doing it right. Unless you have like the most slamming cheese in the world, which is a different podcast. But
Yeah. It's hard to find, but if you can get a mild mango habanero wing,
Yes.
it's hard to find though, because most people, you're getting the mango habanero, you want that hot habanero.
Yeah.
But if you get like a real fruity one with just that taste of habanero, it's so good.
yeah, actually, I was going to say, I think I'm more of a sweet and hot guy too. And I think that's why I like a lot of these Korean and fried wings now, because they do have that nice blend of like honey or like you have a little sriracha or gochujang. And I think mango habanero, I always like, sounds great. And then when I have it, I'm like, God, this is so hot.
It's punishing sometimes.
It is. But I definitely do like a Caribbean jerk though too. Something with just a little zing, or the Asian zing too is kind of a nice one. But yeah, I never, discern. If I can have a drummy, that's great. But I'll never be disappointed with a flat. And so that's kind of where I stand. What I was going to quiz you guys on though now, because I did this last time with you, is in what order these chains open. So I don't know if you all paid attention, if you did your research.
Oh yeah, because we've worked with the established, like the Domino's and the pizza before. We should know these.
Damn.
Yeah. So, yeah, I want to see if you guys can put them in order. So, I'm going to be very clear, though, about what I'm talking about here. Because, obviously, we talked about Domino's and Pizza Hut separately. But they introduced wings to their menu in a specific year. Okay? So, I want you to put in order of when those wings released versus Buffalo Wild Wings, Wings Over, WingStreet, not WingStreet, Wingstop. Those are all like when the actual restaurant chain opened because they had wings from day one.
Yeah.
I'm going to be rude to our guests and just do mine before I lose it.
Sure.
Domino's, Pizza Hut, Buffalo Wild Wings, Wingstop, Wings Over would
Okay.
be my guess.
Then I will go Domino's, Pizza Hut, Buffalo Wild Wings, Wings Over, and then Wingstop.
Okay, slight variation there. All right.
Flipping those last two.
I think I'm gonna go with Fred's order. That's about the order I would put him in.
Okay. So I think you guys going to be a little surprised here.
Oh, no.
Oh, damn it.
Number one is Buffalo Wild Wings. Opened in 1982.
What?
Not in Buffalo, New York. Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, I was going to guess Albany because I hear they have great wings too.
Okay, well, it's kind of that area, though, right?
Yeah.
Sort
It's
of.
like that northern New York.
Yeah, within the proximity, right?
Wow.
So, yeah, they had started in 1982. They were founded as Buffalo Wild Wings and Weck by Jim Disbrow.
Weck.
Yeah, and so that's where the first wing chain started. Number two is actually a tie because Wingstop opened in 1994,
What?
the same year that Domino's introduced their buffalo wings.
Man, we were all way off.
Yep. And that's per the Domino's company history website, because that sounded late, the 1994. But they said Domino's rolls out buffalo wings in 1994, its first chicken menu item. So number three, or I guess four, because 2 and 3 were a tie, is Wings Over, which opened in 1998. Or I'm sorry, founded in... So now there's conflicting information in the same article. They say it opened in 1988, but it was founded in 2000. So I think, they're saying it started, the idea became together in 1998 in Amherst, Massachusetts, and they officially franchised in 2000. But Wingstop, Garland, Texas, and Domino's obviously was way back in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Ypsilanti? I think it's Ypsilanti. Be kind to me, Michigan people, if you listen to this episode. So that obviously leaves WingStreet is the last one. 2003 was when they first opened WingStreet.
late.
To the
and
game.
honestly, that does make more sense because I do remember WingStreet being like the hot thing and being old enough to potentially like look at a menu and know like what they had to offer. So I had to have been around that age.
Yeah.
Because when WingStreet came out, it was kind of like cool and big and sexy. They had a bunch of different flavors. Like it was the hot thing. And then like, yeah, it's not so much anymore.
Yeah. So that's kind of the whole history of like these franchises coming out. But obviously the history of the Buffalo Wing, you guys, starts back in Buffalo, New York. And there are very different versions about the invention of the Buffalo Wing. Because the place that claims the invention, or the first place that did it, is called Anchor Bar in Buffalo, New York. And that was back in 1964. So Frank Bellissimo was the owner of this bar, but it was his wife Teresa that was credited with making the recipe of the Buffalo Wing. So they have, legit, 6 different stories on how this was created. Like there was one, there was like an unannounced party that they were going to have one night, and they needed something in a hurry, and so Teresa needed a fast and easy way to give a snack, and so she deep fried all the wings and then tossed them in like this cayenne hot sauce. And the other one is their son claims that it was like a Friday night in the bar, and since a lot of people were buying drinks, he wanted to do something nice for them at midnight, and that I think it was like during Lent because they were all going to be like eating meat again. And so his mom came up with the idea of these chicken wings on that night. So it's kind of similar. And then there was also like they had actually began selling wings at a different bar, and Anchor Bar took this one from a place called Duff's. So they claimed that in 1969 was when they actually grabbed those. But then there was another claim that it was like a misdelivery of wings. Instead of backs and necks for making the bar spaghetti sauce, they got wings and drummies, and they decided to make chicken wings off of that. So there's a couple other stories, but basically somewhere between Duff's and Anchor Bar is where the original Buffalo Wing came together, and where we had the definition from before.
The last one sounds a little far-fetched to me because you want backs and necks for making spaghetti sauce, but not chicken back and necks. You want like pork backs and necks and beef.
Right.
That's just what I made like a Sunday gravy, like an all day thing once, and I had to buy like pork necks and like weird pieces because you just want to render that fat.
I will say, having recently worked at a like very small local grocery store, we would get like the truck coming in from the warehouse with our stuff. We usually ordered like dry goods like popcorn and like seeds and nuts or whatever. Sometimes they would just give me like a 12 like pack case of like butter, and I was like, I didn't order this. They're like, well, here you go. I was like, I don't know what to do, like I can't sell this. And so it's possible that like if they order like, you know, pork stuff, and then they could just get chicken, and they're just like, all right, it's your problem
true.
now.
You work
So
with what you got.
That's
Yeah.
our secret. We thought we were using pork, but we're using chicken all.
That's my recipe book, chicken sketty.
It actually does remind me of the controversy from a few years ago where they said the calamari was actually just pigtails being fried up, and that they were using pigtails because they're easier to get from like the butchered pigs versus like getting actual squid. So like when you got the rings, that was it. So that's why I always go for like the actual little like squid.
Because you don't want those pigtails. You don't want those shrimp tails in your cinnamon toast crunch.
Oh gosh. Was that ever like proved to be real, or was that just a hoax?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't want to know. But I love any like story that's like I think the like hot toddy or any of those, like a lot of like beverage stories, like how a cocktail is made is like, oh, a patron came in and he said he wanted something to fix his cold and also get him blasted, you know. And so I like stories like that, like, oh, we had to do this and then we made this.
Yeah.
Or the sad one was that Flamin' Hot Cheetos were made by like a guy who worked in like the factory or somewhere. He was like a lower level guy, and that ended up being BS apparently. And that was a bummer because I love a story like that, you know?
Where it's just some dude on the line who's like, yeah, I just tried mixing this and that and it came out perfect. Yeah. So now that we're about to get into our actual taste test today, so we are going to each try one wing from each of these franchises. We're going to have a blind taste test, and Fred has graciously offered to be our test master today to run the blind taste test. What are some of your predictions for what you think is going to win out? Having had most of these wing chains, but maybe not one. Because I've never had Wings Over either. I think that's the only one I haven't touched. But Jasmine, do you want to kick us off?
I think if there's going to be any like major variety between the franchises, it'll probably be in heat level. Because I feel like, and we were kind of talking about this as we were all looking at the different menus, like you have like a Wings Over has like 5 different like buffalo levels. It's like mild, medium, hot, like super hot, like flamin', whatever, you know. And then like some places are just like it's just buffalo. So I'll be curious to see like the difference in like heat levels, because we did all try to get like the chains like typical like medium or like most ordered like heat level. So that's what I'm going to be curious about, is like how different that's going to be across the board.
Okay.
Yeah, we were surprised to see the original hot was like on the hot scale at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess that's kind of the way you'd want it, though, right? If you're going to order like a hot wing, like you want it to have that spice, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you think's going to be your winner, though, if you had to predict like which one's going to come out on top?
Oh, man, that's hard. I have a soft spot for Wings Over, so I kind of want that to pull through, but I am willing to be, you know, persuaded by a different... I don't know. It could be like B-dubs. Like that's their claim to fame is their wings, or it could be a Wingstop. So we'll
Do you
see.
think you'll recognize the Wingstop wings, or do you think you're going to recognize any wings?
I'd be surprised if I did, to be honest. I feel like I'm just going to like try and be like, I don't know, but this is good. So
Yeah, I don't think I would be able to either, because I think I've had a lot of these, but it's just like been very spaced apart where I wouldn't be able to recognize them.
Yeah.
I think Jasmine makes a good point about like the spice level, because I think for me, like I'm sensitive to heat. So like if something is like a spicier wing, even if it's good, I'm probably not going to like it as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good point. Because, I think the one thing, and just to kind of give, bigger peek behind the curtain, so Domino's, they only have one buffalo hot sauce, which I was a little afraid of, too. And I was kind of afraid Pizza Hut might be the same way.
Yeah. They have like just buffalo or barbecue, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. What do you think is going to be your winner then, Joe?
Ooh, I'm pretty excited to try Wings Over. I honestly think it would be Wings Over at Wingstop, because I just think like they're more of like specializing in the wings. I know Buffalo Wild Wings is as well, but I kind of feel like they're more of like a restaurant kind of style where they have a bunch of other stuff. So I think Wings Over at Wingstop would be my pick.
See, I think this is where we ran into the trap the last time with the pizza. So for those who haven't listened to that episode, I think we all went in expecting like toppers or something like that to come out on top. And really, we all picked Pizza Hut. And because I think we all kind of liked that flavor, it was sweet, and it was like it separated itself from the pack. So I'm kind of expecting this time it might be a more generic thing like a Buffalo Wild Wings, despite I kind of have a lower opinion of the actual wing versus their sauces. I think their sauces are usually
Definitely
bang on. But yeah, I'm curious about the spice levels with everything, because I think that's going to throw me off a little bit too. But I would not be surprised, just because Domino's has upgraded their menus in the past couple of years, if suddenly that ends up coming out on top.
Yeah, I don't really have any guesses, but I will say I'm excited to see how Domino's and Pizza Hut stack up to the competition.
Yeah.
If they're going to be dead bottom or they're going to be surprises, you know?
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to hear what your rankings are, even knowing what they are, Fred. I think that's going to be a great kind of like subject X to compare against, where it's like, I know what these are, and I tried it, and I was like, okay, that's what I picked, versus like us doing a blind taste test, what we ended up deciding on. So with that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and run our taste test, and where it's going to be an instant for the audience. It'll be a little while for us before we come back, but we'll give you guys our feedback here right now. So let's talk about the results then of these wing tastings. So just to remind everyone once more, in case you're not familiar, it is Wingstop, Wings Over Milwaukee. They have different branches though, so it's just Wings Over. WingStreet via Pizza Hut, Domino's, and Buffalo Wild Wings. So we were given each wing as an anonymous blind taste test. So we're going to refer to them as wings 1 through 5 without knowing which ones are which. And then at the end, Fred is going to reveal which ones we each enjoyed. So let's start with wing number 1 and get some thoughts. Joe, do you want to kick us off on that?
Yeah. This wing I actually enjoyed quite a bit. Let me start with that.
Okay.
It kind of it looked a little dried out, like it maybe had been fried a little too long, but I can kind of get down with that. If it's like little, not overcooked, but it's in the fry a little longer, I think it just locks in the flavor a little bit. But also I thought it was like a little too lightly sauced. I would have liked to see just a little bit more on there. But it did have kind of a sweet taste, which I liked. And since I'm not a spicy boy, like I enjoyed that. Did have a little bit of a spicy after kick, but it wasn't so much that I didn't really like the wing.
Yeah. It definitely noted, those like hints of like the afterburn right on this one. I don't know. Did everyone else get that?
Yeah, it definitely kicked in a little later.
Yeah. Like it almost like, hits you in the back of the throat, like almost like 10 seconds after you're finished eating the whole wing. And you're like, oh, whoa, this actually has some heat to it. Yeah. What do you think, Jasmine?
Yeah, for my notes, I wrote for wing number 1 that it's kind of crispy. It had some like mild heat, also had some sweetness, which you all kind of noted. And I did notice that like the sauce on the plate was a little more syrupy than that kind of like glossy, creamy.
Yeah.
Which I think kind of leads me to believe like it's maybe a little more mass produced if it's more of that kind of like syrupy type. But I didn't mind it. Like actually that was kind of like a good like mild wing. So I would like not turn that down if I came across it.
Sure. What about you, Fred? What'd you think?
Yeah, I was definitely very happy with this wing and surprised by it. I would say the chicken was good. I said it had heat that kind of built like you talked about and hit you. And I do really like that sweetness because I think buffalo is a flavor that is hard to mess up and it pretty much is the same across the board.
Yeah.
This is a reason to, maybe I want this instead because it's got something else going for it. So I think, that was the standout for me for this wing was just that flavor. And I could always use more sauce. And that's the through line for all these, I will say.
For sure. I think the only one that I'm going to say is maybe a little over sauced was one that was like, but it's the type of sauce that kind of made it like too saucy. And we'll get to that one later. But I think this one didn't have a lot of sauce, but I almost liked that. I thought the meat was kind of tender. And I think that's, one thing we kind of talked about as we were eating them was that you want to have it have like a little bit of bite, but not too tough that you can't chew it too easily. And I thought this one was kind of just right in the middle. Like it was one of my top ones of the ones we ate. So we'll put a pin in that one because then we'll come back and start taking some guesses after we go through all of them. So let's move on to number 2. Jasmine, why don't you kick us off on this one?
So number 2 compared to number 1 was like the flavor was much more like chicken forward and like cayenne forward is what I noted. So it really had that like that spice flavor, but also just that savory like meat flavor. I thought the flats were like pretty moist, which I liked, but then like the drum was a little bit drier. Like not bad, but you could definitely tell a little bit of a texture difference.
Yeah.
The sauce was glossier, like more of that kind of like buttery gloss that you're expecting. And I did note that one left me with like tingly lips, which is kind of like a sensation that I like. And I definitely felt like my nose kind of started to like run a little bit, which is also kind of like, okay, this got some like actual spice. So compared to like, I mean, I liked wings 1 and 2 because we kind of ate them back to back. Like I liked them both, but I think between them, I would maybe like pick wing number 2, maybe like even amp up the spice a little bit on it for my own preference. But both were good. That was a good start.
Good. Fred, what'd you think?
I agree with Jasmine. I think, and try not to show my hand, I think wing 2, this was kind of, this specific batch was missing the things that would have made it like an all-star dish. But I could tell that it was just lacking those things. I will say all the flavor of the second wing was coming primarily from the sauce, and I think that goes for the first wing. Later, we have some wings where you can taste that. I don't know if they do like a dry rub or a pre-season, but you can taste kind of those like heartier seasonings that I like. I like to taste that and the buffalo sauce.
Yes.
And I think 1 and 2 didn't quite have the chicken seasoning flavor, but I thought 2 had something that I like a lot, which was a good vinegar. Like I love like smelling vinegar off of some wings. That gets me excited.
Yeah, for sure. I did think there was a good amount of heat to this one, and I definitely thought the meat, it was meaty, and I liked that. A little tougher. I almost thought I thought it was a little more overcooked, and then I had a couple of the other ones, and I'm like, that wasn't so bad. So yeah, but I thought it was pretty good overall. What about you, Joe?
Yeah, These were very meaty. Like, these are some big boys. I think that's the first thing that kind of jumped out the plate at me. I honestly think it could have used a little more sauce because I some of the notes you guys were saying about a little spiciness. I don't know if it's just my wings in particular because I thought it tasted a little bland. I didn't really get any of that kick or that sauce, but I mean that could have just been these specific wings. You know, they just weren't quite as seasoned or sauced as well because. For me, in the first two, I really like the meat in the second one because it is very chicken forward. I like that.
Yeah.
But if I could have, mixed it with like the sauce from the first one, or just a little more sauce in general, I think that would have made this a big winner.
Yeah, that's definitely a takeaway. Is I think in here is the perfect wing. If you take aspects from each one,
Yeah,
need a Voltron, a perfect wing.
I mean, I think one thing that we even kind of started talking about at the table, and I'll take a little break here after number 2, is talking about the pairing sauces and not like the actual like hot wing sauce, but ranch dressing, blue cheese, the things that people typically have with them. Where do you guys stand on those?
I think I used to be a purist where I didn't understand the point of dipping sauce because a buffalo wing is literally drenched in sauce. And so for the longest time, I used to think like, no, like I just want that like pure buffalo. Then I don't know. I think I came around to like, if it's a good like plate of wings and I don't have any dipping sauce available, I'll probably be happy. But if like I have like blue cheese is usually my favorite, like that little extra tang that kind of like blends in really well with like the spice and the vinegar. Like it's just nice to have that kind of balance of flavors and like almost balance of temperatures in terms of like spice, but also like a hot, like warm wing with like cold blue cheese. Like, I don't know. I've come to really enjoy that. Ranch is good too, but I'll take blue cheese any day.
Yeah. Where are you guys at?
Yeah, I'm definitely a blue cheese guy. I think, the tang, I think it mixes well with some of the spicier wings. Ranch just, I don't know, it just kind of feels like it doesn't complement the flavor profile that well of like what I'm looking for in a wing. But the weird thing is like I don't really like blue cheese in any other setting. Like I don't like blue cheese crumbles on a salad, but like dipping a wing into it, like I'm all about it.
That's interesting. Yeah. Are you a blue cheese guy, Fred?
Yeah, I said earlier to you guys that I like both. I'm very happy because a lot of wings places do this now where they have both on there, the ranch and the blue cheese. I do agree, blue cheese hits with that buffalo the best because it does have that stank and tang on it with the buffalo. My problem is... And if you know where you're going and you know what you're getting, it's not a problem. But when I go to a place, I'm usually worried that the blue cheese sauce is going to be a little gross. So I get the ranch because ranch seems to be easier and more consistent. But I do think my number one choice is blue cheese, but I want it to be good. I want it to have like little chunks in it. And I want it to be thick.
Yes.
And I want that coolness to, fight off that hotness from the buffalo sauce.
Yeah. So this is funny because I'm also a blue cheese guy. So sweep across the board here. Like I think when I got introduced to blue cheese and exactly like you just said, like the little chunks in it just make it great. But I feel like it's such a controversial opinion to be like blue cheese over ranch. People are like, that's gross. It's old cheese. You're like moldy. And it's like, no, it's like, it's delicious. But talking about the buffalo wing versus something like a mango habanero, where I think I might actually reach for a ranch on that one because I think it blends a little bit better with that. Kind of having more of a, not a spicy sauce to pair with it, but just something that has a little bit of its own seasoning in it that kind of hits with that habanero and that mango a little bit more than like a blue cheese, which is a little bit sweeter. So let's move on to wing number 3 then. Fred, what were your thoughts on this one?
I'm looking at my notes here. I thought this seemed like the best quality chicken, but I thought the sauce was very much lacking. I thought it kind of had a bad fry, like it was a little under-fried.
Yeah.
And not enough burn for me. So it was kind of a disappointing wing because like it should have been a contender, but like it was just kind of missing. Much like wing 2, I think maybe in the preparation failed it a little bit.
Yeah. I did think it was very meaty. Like I thought, exactly. That was probably the right meat, but nothing else was really working for me as well. Like it was almost wet. That was my note. It's like it was really wet, which is saying something compared because there is one that is like the wettest of them all. But
And I just want to say real quick with wings, for me, it's such a split thing of appetizing to disgusting.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing about wings, that I can get super grossed out by wings, but they're one of my favorite foods.
Yeah.
And when I see that like soft fry on a wing, it's a turnoff.
no, I can kind of see that though too. What are your thoughts on this one, Joe?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it was very meaty, and I think I feel like there was barely any sauce on it. Like I was like, I need a little more sauce on this bad boy.
Yeah.
Because like as I bit into it, I felt like a little too tender. Like I was kind of like chewing on like some shredded chicken or something. which
Yeah.
I think with a chicken wing, I need like a little bit of resistance there, just because I want it to have like more of like a satisfying bite.
Yes.
And like a little bit of crunch, whereas this was just way too tender, and I thought they were more moist, like you're saying they were wet. It just like didn't it wasn't what I was looking for in a chicken wing.
No. Yeah. Just kind of weird. I don't know. Jasmine, where were you at?
I wrote in all caps when I first saw him, chonky, because they were some chonky wings, and I was really excited about that. Like, I love a good like thick wing. But yeah, I kind of agree. Like, it was a little too soft. I think because the wings are bigger, they probably needed like, I don't know, if I had to guess, just as like a home cook, like the skin probably had to be patted down dry, because it's kind of had that like waterlogging of when you don't pat down your chicken and then you try to fry it, like it just gets cooked but not like crispy because there's still that moisture hanging on. So that's kind of what I got, was like, okay, like there might have just been too much moisture in this chicken, and like they needed extra fry and to be really extra dry. I didn't think they were particularly flavorful, because the way I was doing it, I would eat like one wing on its own and then take the second like wing from that same brand and like dip that in sauce. And so when I ate the first wing kind of plain, like it didn't have much flavor. It tasted better with the blue cheese, but that's just because like the blue cheese was like carrying it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of disappointing, but I guess because the wing was so big, I can maybe see why it didn't, like the execution didn't work out. If it had maybe been like a smaller wing, might have gotten crispier. Who knows?
Yeah, I definitely think the size maybe threw off all the other proportions, right? Does that almost kind of seem like what's the case?
Yeah, because I mean, I like the look of a big wing, but I think when it comes to wings, bigger's not necessarily better.
Yeah. No, I don't think so either. But then we had number 4, and I'll start with this one. I thought this was not good. If I had a loser of the day, it was probably this one, because I thought it was overcooked, a little dry, and just not enough sauce on this. Like that's a turnoff for me. You were talking about like appetizing to that, and at first I was sort of like, well, it looks okay, because I guess we've been seeing each of these so far. But at first I was like, okay, it looks a little dry, and then I ate it. I'm like, oh, I'm not into this at all. Joe, where are you at on that one?
Yeah, so when I first looked at this wing, I thought it looked a little dried out, which I'm like, all right, well, that can be good, because I think for me, I want like a little crunch. I don't want it to be like super saucy where it like feels like very moist, very wet to eat.
Yeah.
And then when I had this one, I think like the chicken itself, like I was like, okay, there's like some seasoning here that I'm into. But yeah, it was just lacking in like the buffalo sauce that I'm looking for.
Right.
I think like with this, it's unfortunate that as a buffalo wing, I didn't like it that much, but I think this wing had a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And that like the meat itself, like the crispiness, that is like what I'm looking for. But then the sauce just let it down.
Yeah. Jasmine, what about you?
This was the only like pair of wings that I did not finish eating. Like all the others, I was like, all right, it's, got this or that, it's great or not great, but I'll finish eating it because it's a buffalo wing. This one, I was just like, no. Like I ate the one, like I took a few bites and I was like, all right, let me try dipping it. And it just was not very redeeming. It looked really crispy and nice. It had a really nice glossy sauce. It didn't have like any spice or any like real flavor, like no like vinegar, like no spice. Yeah, I just like, I can't even pinpoint like what I didn't like about it, but I would just like didn't go for that second wing. I was like, no, I'll just move on. Like it's just not great. And there's like this sinking feeling in my heart of like, of course, because I talked up Wings Over, this is going to be fucking Wings over, isn't it? Like, it's going to be the one wing that I'm even like, no, I didn't like it. So we'll see. We'll find out. But it was really disappointing. And that was the one, like, set of wings I did not really care for.
Yeah, like, we got one more wing to talk about, but I'm definitely prepared for one that we expected to not be good, be like, oh, that was surprisingly good. And one that we were like, oh, this is going to be really good. Maybe not necessarily Wings Over, that it's just going to be like, oh, are you kidding? That's terrible from them.
You'll have to wait and see. That might be true.
What about you, Fred? About number 4 here?
Yeah, this was also, I'm going to echo more Joe. I'm more on his view with it, where I think I told you guys when I saw this wing, I was like, this is an ugly ass wing. First of all, unappetizing looking. And this is kind of like when someone likes stuff burnt. I'll say, like, I thought it had a good fry, but I know that's my preference. Like Joe, I like a little harder fry.
Yeah.
And I don't mind if that dries out the top edge a little more, as long as the whole thing's not dry. And it wasn't. I thought this was the best seasoning, like chicken seasoning of the bunch, but the worst sauce in regards to just not being there. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't taste buffalo on these wings.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why I could taste the flavor of the wing. So again, it's more of just like, this one was not at its performance, but like we said, we're keeping that's part of it. Like, if the wings are only good sometimes, it's not worth it. You know, right. Like, it's got to be consistent. So yeah, it's came down to the sauce for me, but I don't mind like that, like crispiness and almost dryness.
Yeah, you keep bringing that up too, and I think that is something that we really haven't focused too much on so far. But the fact that these all are air fried, like clearly they all are, and the next one will be as well. But I just want to take a quick stop to talk about that too, because the definition that we just talked about of buffalo wings at the very beginning of the episode says it's a fried wing. But I think some of the best wings I've had are grilled. Do you guys like them fried, or do you like them a little different where they are like grilled on like an actual grill?
Yeah, I personally like it grilled, just because I am looking for a little bit of crispiness that you can get off of like a high heat grill. A little, I would say overall, like I'd like something a little drier, so it doesn't have to be sauce as much, where I think this complements that like grilled flavor of the chicken. Where I think it's just, for me, it's like you get that crispiness, you get that nice taste of the meat, and yeah, that I just really like the grilled.
Yeah.
I haven't had like grilled wings in a long time. Maybe I need to revisit grilled wings.
There are some good local ones if you're in Milwaukee at Points East.
Points East, okay. Is Giraldi's grilled or fried? I haven't tried them.
Those are also grilled.
Okay, those are the ones I need to try.
Very small though, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you grilled?
Man, I don't know. I don't think I've had enough grilled wings in my life to really decide if I am. Like, the ones that I have had, like, I've had the Points East wings, and they were good. They were also a little more dry rub, I think, versus sauce, which I like, but I think in my head, like, the template for a buffalo wing is sauce. Like, that's what I'm expecting. But I will say, walking past Club Garibaldi that also does those grilled wings, and, like, the smell of, like, the grill, like, the smokiness, you can get, like, that buffalo sauce just wafting out is so good. So, like, I can be convinced to go for a grilled wing. I think, obviously, in terms of like restaurants and like, as we kind of know, like the buffalo wing was created in a bar. Like, most bars are going to have a deep fryer over a grill, especially in a cold place like Buffalo or Milwaukee. It's a lot easier to have that deep fryer. So I get why that's going to be the more common way to do it. But I do think there's something about, like, I mean, any meat over a charcoal grill is going to be delicious, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what's interesting too, is that we had actual like buffalo wings. Like, a friend of Jasmine's, her dad is from Buffalo, New York, and he deep fried some wings for us using the Anchor Bar buffalo sauce, and they were good. Like, I was like, okay, I see why there's hype around it, but I kept thinking back to some grilled wings that I've had here, and I'm like, I don't know if those technically fall under the definition of a buffalo wing, but because they are grilled, but I still think those are the chicken wings that I'm going to reach for more often than not.
Well, also, I feel I can deal with not perfectly cooked grilled skin on a chicken versus not perfectly fried skin on a chicken. So I feel that makes it gotta be better for the grill.
Yeah.
Because even if it's a little like not that crispy skin, you get that grill taste. It's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm. And you said that Maryland even like has some different types of wings too, right?
Oh yeah, Maryland, like, it's big. You get like I'm trying to think of the name that we have. Maybe I can remember it before the end of the episode. But we have a chain, and it's big to get the Chesapeake wings, which is a buffalo and Old Bay wing.
Oh,
which
Old
is
Bay.
so good. Like
Wow.
just a little like I bet even you could take some wings from B-Dubs or wherever and just sprinkle just a little because they're already salty, but just a tiny bit of Old Bay to give them that like crab seasoning to that buffalo, and then you put that in blue cheese. Oh my gosh!
Wow. That does sound really good, though. Okay, we'll get to the finish. So I'm sure the audience wants to know where we landed here. Number 5. Joe, kick us off.
Ooh, so number 5, these are some little tiny guys. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, these are small. Like as I was grabbing them off the plate, I was like, man, these are the smallest wings yet. But when I had them, I liked them a lot. But it didn't really seem like a buffalo sauce. It kind of it didn't really have that spiciness at all. Felt a little more sweet, but I felt like the wings themselves, while they're small, like I liked them a lot. But it's kind of hard to rank them as like a buffalo wing just because it didn't have those buffalo type flavors in them.
Wow.
Yeah, this was like the Rudy of wings. Like, it didn't win, but man, we talk good stuff about him. Though. We put this little wing on our shoulder and was like, you tried.
It definitely did. What about you, Jess?
I wrote in my notes, I would order these late night if there was no other option. Because, like, they weren't bad, but I think similar to Joe, I was like, this isn't really a buffalo wing. Like, again, like, if I'm expecting a buffalo wing, I don't think these are it. But it was not a bad, like, chicken food, I guess. The one thing, so, like, the sauce to me, it almost tasted like tomato-y.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I described it when we were at the table as, like, if someone tried to, like, reverse engineer what they thought buffalo sauce was. That's kind of what I was, like, getting at, where they're kind of guessing, like, okay, like, it's orange, so maybe it's got some tomato, it's got this or that. So it kind of, like, had that, like, not quite. I also am not sure. I maybe could have, like, checked this a little more. It kind of felt like it was, like, breaded.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it actually was breaded or if it was just like fried in a way that gave it like a more breaded chicken feeling. Which again, like I don't hate because I love any kind of breaded chicken, but it was just like a weird, like compared to the other wings where it was like very clearly like that fried skin. This one just had very different textures and flavors that I don't hate, but also was like, it's not quite a buffalo wing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that there. It definitely was a little tomatoey, but I didn't mind the sauce. It was easily the wettest wing of them all.
Yeah. But like these wings, like I know I had like my feelings about how wings can like on a dime be disgusting to me. These wings seems like they would stay the same for a long time. Like they weren't good and crisp when you first got them. They might have been, but they're gonna maintain just what we had for the rest of the night. It feels like it's not gonna turn on you, you know. Like you could munch on these for a while, but yeah, I would call them like wings in hot sauce.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's a good way to put it. It's like not a buffalo wing, but wings with sauce. Yeah. I don't know, but yeah, I guess like if you're sitting at a bar or just like at a friend's house and you're snacking on those, like could be doing worse. So maybe we should give our guesses here on what we think each of these were, and then we'll have Fred reveal what they are, and then we'll provide our rankings of where we had all of them. So what do you guys think number 1 was?
So I thought it was B-Dubs. And this is why. So I've had a few different sauces at B-Dubs, and I feel like all of them are a little more sweet forward. Which to me, this is actually what I liked about this wing, where it didn't have the spiciness, but it did have a little bit of that sweetness that I expect from a B-Dubs wing. And just like judging by the appearance of them, it seems like, yeah, this is like something that a restaurant would probably be able to crank out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a good guess. Where are you at, Jasmine?
Yeah, I think that makes sense because, again, the sauce was a little more like syrupy versus creamy. And I think with B-Dubs having so many sauces on their menu, they're probably going to have a similar kind of base. So I could see that being Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, I did think this either was Wings over Buffalo Wild Wings, and I do think now that you guys have provided your reasoning, I'm on B-Dub's train there. What about number 2 then?
So I thought number 2, I was torn between either Pizza Hut or Domino's.
Oh.
Because
Oh.
while these were pretty meaty, which I necessarily wouldn't expect from either of those places, I feel like the sauce like distribution just like wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I can see it just like, they're making these quickly. They sauce them up like pretty lightly, but then there's kind of like jostled around, whatever, like if you're getting them for delivery or like, if they're just trying to get these out there quickly. It just felt like these were not quite as like tight in the like appearance factor as some of the other ones, which made me think it was either Pizza Hut or Domino's. Which for number 2, I said Pizza Hut.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
For number 2, I want to believe number 2 is Wings Over because I think number 2 is probably one of my favorite wings. So I really want to believe it's my wing place of choice. I think because they also focus very much on like takeout and delivery. So I think some of the same stuff is like, it's like a really good chicken, but then like the sauce might kind of get lost in the mix when it's getting like delivered or picked up. So I think that's why I want to say that's number 2. And I think if I remember what their sauce kind of tasted like it was kind of this profile. So my guess for number 2 would be Wings Over. I'm also really hoping they're not the shitty wings.
I did think it was Wings Over. And I think because there's something about how tight everything was but the sauce. And I kind of like saw what Wings Over looks like. And I'm like, okay, so it is kind of like a Domino's store chain. And I always kind of base that off. Like, how mass produced are these wings? Because I expect from a chain restaurant, smaller wings are going to mean they're mass distributed. So I thought they had good size, and that's why I'm like, Wings Over makes sense, but also maybe just, we got a batch that the sauce just wasn't quite there. What about number 3?
Yeah, so number 3, I put Domino's just because while they had like they were pretty meaty, I thought it was just like very moist, which made me think these were my least favorite wings personally, just because like looking at them I was like, yeah, I like a nice chunky wing.
Yeah.
But it was just the meat was just like a little too tender, felt very moist.
Yeah.
And then for some of the reasons of like number 2 where like they weren't, I'd feel like the sauce just wasn't there for me. I thought this would come from like a chain like Pizza Hut or Domino's, so I put Domino's for this one.
Okay.
I've never had Wingstop, so kind of by process of elimination, I'm guessing number 3 is Wingstop. Only because I kind of have stronger guesses for some of the other ones. I really don't know. I just know that, I don't know, they're chonky but not great.
Yeah. I do think it's either WingStreet or Pizza Hut, and I'm not sure which one I'm landing on because I could see Pizza Hut going in on like chonkier wings, but then just kind of completely whiffing on sauce because they're just kind of like throw some stuff on it and then call it a day. Like, take like a little like ladle and like drop them on there and then I'm done. So I'm going to land at Wingstop for that one. What about number 4 for you guys?
So for number 4, I said Wingstop because I have had Wingstop wings before and I've liked them. But now that I think back on it, it was a lot of more of like a dry rub type of wing. Like lemon pepper is pretty good there.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember them being like pretty crispy. Like I liked like that profile we were saying, Fred, where like maybe they're like slightly overdone than other people like them, but I like that. Whereas like if I apply that to if they tried to make a buffalo wing, I could see number 4 turning out the way it was.
Yeah.
So I went with Wingstop.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going like, I feel like way off base with my reasoning for these last wings, but hear me out. Number 4, I said Pizza Hut / WingStreet because the only reasoning I have for it is I feel like the style of pizza that Pizza Hut makes requires like a hotter oven. And I don't know. I have no idea if that's true. I just like assume that like a pan pizza requires a hotter oven than like a thin crust. And like Pizza Hut also has like pasta dishes and like all these other like baked things. So the fact that this one was so like crispy and over dried almost leads me to believe that like it kind of goes through like that oven like process at some point where they're being like kept warm in an oven or something. So I don't know, totally like whatever reasoning here, but like that's just kind of my brain was like, I feel like this would be like a Pizza Hut wing. Like I order my pizza and my breadsticks and then I get these wings and they're like the most disappointing part of my combo, you know?
Yeah. I'll preface this by saying I would not be surprised if this did turn out to be WingStreet or even Wings Over, but I'm pretty sure my guess is Pizza Hut as well for that reason of like they felt like wings that they had in like a fryer for too long and they pulled them out and were like whatever because they're far focused on doing pizza, which is funny because the restaurant that we bought these from is labeled as a WingStreet. So you think the one thing they would crush is wings. I'm sure Fred's already kind of laughing on the inside knowing how wrong we are. But
I'm always laughing on the inside.
It is interesting to know how all over the board we are. I feel like number 1 is the only one we've been all agreed on so far.
Well, let's get to number 5 then. So what do you think that one is, Joe?
So number 5, I actually don't have a lot of good reasoning here. I've never had Wings Over, And I couldn't really classify any of the other ones as wings over, so I put this one as wings over.
Okay.
Because I did like it, and like from what I've heard of wings over, it's pretty good, and I couldn't really put my finger on it for any of the other ones, so I went with wings over for this one.
Yeah.
I went with Domino's, just because I think I've had I think Domino's has the boneless wings or whatever, like the little breaded nuggies, and this kind of gave me a similar vibe. So I wouldn't be surprised if these were Domino's wings, because they have that kind of I don't know. I'm still convinced that they had some kind of breading on them, because they had that kind of extra little taste.
Yeah.
So that is my guess. Is number 5 is Domino's.
And I agree. And I think this is the one I feel most confident about, because I have a memory of Domino's being kind of smaller wings, and these were easily the smallest ones we got. And that from college, I remember getting wings from Domino's, and they were just these tiny ones. And then when you talked about the tomato sauce, I was like, they would maybe use their tomato sauce in a buffalo sauce. And I was like, that could make some sense. So I'm pretty confident. I think if I had to put confidence on any of them, I would say Domino's is probably my pick for that. So that being said, I know we're going to power rank these, but first, Fred, would you like to reveal which ones are which?
Well, I will say this. Everyone got one right.
Oh.
And the rest wrong.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. If I'm wrong, sorry, but I'm going to go down the list.
Oh, man, I wonder if we got number 1 right.
Oh, man.
All right. Our number 1 wing was from WingStreet Pizza Hut.
Whoa. Wow.
I don't even know how to feel about that.
Oh, my God.
That was a good wing.
That's a good wing.
I'm going to WingStreet today.
Okay, maybe they did focus on the wings.
I feel like we've been surprised by Pizza Hut in both of our tournaments. Where we all were like, "Oh, that pizza was really good," and it was a Pizza Hut pizza. Now it's our wing. We all kind of like that one.
Our next sandwich tournament's gonna be oh yeah, the Pizza Hut grinders are really good.
And I will say, though, I know wings overall are more expensive these days. The Pizza Hut wings were more expensive than any of the places that I remember. I've never been to Wings Over, but I know when I go to B-Dubs, it's not that much. I was very surprised by that, because I thought it'd be $5.99 for 6 or something like that.
So we're talking Milwaukee prices here, though. And yeah, a 12 thing of wings or a dozen wings from someplace is $20. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. That's a lot of money for a dozen wings.
Yeah. So number 2, B-Dubs, Buffalo Wild Wings.
All right. That was my original guess for that one, but all right.
And I will say real quick, when I get B-Dubs, I don't get bone-in. That's the only place I get boneless. I think their boneless are better than their bone-in.
Wow.
But that's the only place I feel that way.
Okay.
Number 3, Wings Over.
No, that's not as bad as number 4.
Right.
That's pretty damn bad.
Which I feel these are kind of our stinkers, right?
I will say, same as you said with B-Dubs, for Wings Over, I do usually get their tenders that are tossed in sauce. So I'm really disappointed that their bone-in wings didn't match up, because I think their tendies are really good.
Yeah. Wow.
Damn.
I'm shocked by that. Yeah, because just those are so moist. I wouldn't expect that. From Wings Over.
Too moist.
Yep. And I think it was what you were saying. They didn't dry out the skin enough.
Yeah.
Then it is, I wrote these wrong, but I know what's right, was Wingstop.
Okay. Wingstop.
Nice. Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head with everything you said. And I didn't think about that, is that they do a lot of dry rubs, and maybe that's where because when I was dishing out the wings, there was no sauce at the bottom, and all the other ones had sauce at the bottom.
Really? Interesting. Yeah.
And that leaves Domino's for 5.
Yeah. Knew it. I knew it. Man, that's an upset, I feel like. Oh. Well, let's talk about our power rankings then. So where'd you guys actually have these ranked? So no change in your minds now that you know which one's which.
Yeah, so number 1 are actually the Pizza Hut wings.
Yeah.
Which I thought were the B-Dubs wings, just because I really like that slight sweetness to it. But I guess Pizza Hut just no one's out pizzas the Hut. Or out wings the Hut, I guess. And then I actually went with number 2, which were the B-Dubs wings.
Okay.
which I guess I'm not too surprised with that. I feel like I do like B-dubs in general. Like it's fine. So having it ranked pretty highly. Then I actually went with number 5, which was Domino's, which I have a lot of fond childhood memories of that. Even if I think the flavor profile was off, I still liked them a lot. And then 4, Wingstop. I guess I wasn't surprised that like their dry rubs are so good. But Buffalo just wasn't executed that well. And then, number 3, Wings Over. I'm a little disappointed. Yeah, just those wings were a little too moist. Like I needed a little crunchiness, a little more sauce.
Right. Jasmine, where'd you land?
All right, so my rankings, my top wing was wing number 2, which is B-dubs. I haven't had B-dubs wings in forever. So I honestly am like, okay, sure, if they're the best wings, like good on them, because like they're called Buffalo Wild Wings. They better sell. So
that was your prediction too, right? The B-dubs would be the best?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think so. I think I was like, if you're gonna say you're like a wing place, you better have the best wings.
Sure.
My second choice was number 1, the Pizza Hut wings. Like I'm just baffled. Like they shouldn't have been as good as they were, but they were pretty good. Like I think I still have a little bit of issue with the sauce being more syrupy over like that glossy, nice buttery, but I didn't mind it. Like if you serve that up as a buffalo wing, I'm fine with it. For my third choice, and I will say like these last few choices were very like nitpicky because I just wasn't a huge fan of them. I picked number 3, which is the Wings Over. It was fine. It's not very flavorful, but I thought that I would take that over like my last choice wings. So then in 4th spot, I have number 5, which is Domino's, which again, I was very much like, if this were the only choice late night, like I would order this and I'd be happy. I wouldn't mind. And then in final place, I have number 4, which is Wingstop. It was just like, it was tough to eat. Like it was like overdone. And I think maybe if it were a dry rub, it would have been a little different. I don't know. But that was just the only one that I could not finish, the second wing.
Sure. Man, interesting picks for you guys. So I'll go next because I want to hear how you ranked them, Fred, knowing which ones were which, go all throughout. Because I also had number 1 as my favorite. And I'm shocked right now to find out that was Pizza Hut WingStreet. Because I thought when I had to compare, 1 and 2 were not too far off of one another, but I did find that like I kind of like that afterburn taste, and I liked that I was able to just sort of enjoy that little sweetness to it. So I mean, WingStreet was good. Number 2, I did go with B-dubs, and because I thought the heat was good. I thought they were really meaty and but even though they're just a little crispy, I didn't mind it at all, and I was just like, it was enjoyable. I put number 5 as my 3. So Domino's, because I think knowing that like I almost accepted it was a flawed wing, and that like this isn't great, but I actually could enjoy it. Like I was like when I was done eating, I'm like, you know what? I'm not unhappy about that. But then Wings Over Milwaukee was my number 4, and for all the same reasons, just not enough sauce on that thing. It was wet without being flavorful. And that was tough. But I did think it was really meaty, and I like a good meat on the wing. I'd be very curious about their other sauces now. My last one was Wingstop. I thought that was just not good. Way too dry, way too overcooked. Everything was just not right for me. Fred, where did you land?
I think we're all pretty similar. I think we all have not necessarily in the same place, but we have the same top 2, all of us.
Yeah.
So I think I'm allowed to switch mine in the last minute because I knew the whole time, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I think my personal bias went to my original ranking, and I put number 2 one, and I got to put that shit aside and say the Pizza Hut ones were better.
Yeah.
They just were better. I think I prefer the flavor of the sauce on 2, but it wasn't there, so I can't really give it to them.
Yeah.
So my ranking would be, I'm going to switch it. 1, which is the Pizza Hut. 2, which is the B-dubs. Then I have 4, which is the Wingstop, but I think, again, it's my preference is putting that higher up because I like that dry.
Yeah.
But if they would have just literally had a little sauce of buffalo and went like that, that might be in my top 3.
Yeah.
Like, if they just, like, hit it with some buffalo like that.
Well, it is your top 3. It says number 3, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, top 2. It would have been up there more. And then I have 5 just for those little guys. Lost spirit in those guys, a lot of heart. And then I put the wings over last. And I think, again, my bias came in because wings over I think of as a more quality product. So I think I kicked it to the bottom because it was so low. I was like, do better.
Yeah, I was very disappointed by Wings Over, especially because, again, I did talk him up, and this was like, there's just a lot of like execution errors where it's like, this is just not cooked well. Like, you guys just didn't follow like the proper like procedure, I think, and it wasn't very flavorful.
Yeah, and it's very interesting how everybody, it seemed like, kind of put a very specific emphasis on the type of the wing they were looking for, like meatiness, sauce, crispiness. Like, those are obviously the three like main components. I mean, I think Fred, you called that out too, like the seasoning in the chicken too. And there's definitely a couple, and I think that was one thing that even kind of hit with the Domino's too. I kind of felt like when I didn't get enough sauce, I still had flavor.
Had like a lot of flavor.
I am blown though that probably the bigger chains here were the ones that won out, and I don't know what Pizza Hut's doing recently, but clearly they're doing something right. Like,
Yeah, and I gotta say, I gotta shout out the little, like, because like now we live in a world where like chains are like almost like little businesses because they're dying. But like the one where I live is like, it's like right up the block from me,
Yeah.
and it's the same lady every time I go there. So it feels like a mom and pop when I go into this pizza because she knows I like I didn't ask for well done the wings, but when I get my pizza, I ask for well done there, and like so I'm happy to know that they won, and I also am happy that like for that price point I'm not mad at it because that's how much you're paying for wings at a Wings Over or at a B-Dubs. I was just like, I don't want to pay this for the Domino style, which I don't know where they were price wise. But
I think that was about $20 for 16 wings, which were
that's good,
smaller.
though.
And now I'm kind of thinking like that's not as bad because did you say it was $30 for a dozen?
it was $28 for 12 wings.
Oh my gosh, that's
Which
a lot.
that's B-Dub's price pretty much.
But but then you end up getting a pretty good wing for those prices. Man, that's tough.
I think something that I would do if I were to get these wings in the future is I'd ask for an extra side of their buffalo sauce.
Yeah.
And I'd do my own little drizzle. I think that's just going to be a move for any place if I get takeout wings.
Yeah. I mean, well, go ahead, Joe.
Oh yeah, because I was just wanted to add that it's like even with all of our options, I feel like there was just like some flaws to each of them. Whereas like I really liked the sauce in one, and I'd like the meat in the other. But yeah, it's like number 4, Wingstop. I keep coming back to like that was so close to being like my number 1. It's just some of the dryness. Having that sauce on the side I think would have been key because you can kind of control your own sauce level there.
Yeah.
Across the board, I feel like we didn't get enough buffalo sauce.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that I'm very curious about. And what I was actually going to say, depending on how long this podcast River runs, and at this point we have no intentions of stopping anytime soon, but I mean, I'd be very curious, especially after the pizza tournament now and after the wings tournament here, to kind of go back to these places and try something different, like getting pepperoni pizza next time from a couple of those same chains, or we get a dry rub from most of these chains and just see how those compare and kind of get a better sense. Because right now, so far, we've done one flavor from each of these. It was all cheese pizzas. It was all buffalo wings, right? So it's like we're only getting kind of the one flavor palette. And I do wonder, especially with those dry rubs. Like I think a couple of these places do that better. And I would even say Buffalo Wild Wings does a decent job with their dry rubs. But yeah, sometimes you just can't out Pizza the Hut, right?
I know we shouldn't pitch ideas on mic, but maybe next time for a pizza episode, we do like a show and tell, and we each bring like a pizza from a place, how we all like it. Ooh. And it's like, this is how I like it.
There's so much we can do with pizza.
I'm going to say this. If we do a sub thing, I don't like veggies on my subs.
Oh,
I only like peppers. I know I'm weird. I'll eat salads all day. I love all the veggies that go on a sandwich.
Yeah.
But that's something from childhood that I haven't plussed up in my sandwich life is putting all that stuff on.
Man.
I think a sandwich chain tournament would be very interesting but I feel like I'm also going to know. I think we said the same thing last time too. Like, I'm going to know which ones these are. But I feel like, especially with the sandwiches, I feel like I'm going to know.
Sandwiches because the bread, and also I thought if I was going to be blind tasting these wings, I was going to know. I don't think, other than the Domino's. The Domino's I could tell, but the rest I think I would have been flummoxed.
Right.
Yeah, one thing too is we were blindfolded for the pizza too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
were.
then the wings, like we could see them, and I still had no idea really which were which.
Which is impressive because they were all some bigger wings outside of the Domino's. Which I think immediately when I saw that, I'm like, that's them. So I think that brings us to the end of our episode.
We do have
here,
one
guys.
more segment.
We do.
Yes. So, one thing with wings is they can be spicy. And I was like, this is podcasting, this is entertainment. And what's more entertaining than people eating a very spicy wing? So I've got 2 atomic wings, and Jasmine and I are gonna at least have a bite of these atomic tenders.
Oh gosh.
And we're gonna see how that goes.
Okay. We're gonna get the feedback right now.
All right. So Jasmine and I each got a tender, and I will say something nice about Wingstop. I know that was the bottom of our list. You can get a la carte 2 tenders for $2, and I think that's awesome.
That's not bad at
I
all.
love that because I could see instead of getting 12 wings, getting 6 wings and 2 tenders. So this is the most spicy tender flavor they got.
Oh God.
It's called Atomic. And we're going to take our bites now. I can smell the vinegar.
I just want to say, I put like my nose right into this to sniff it, and I just like felt right up my nose. So.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
I just took a whiff of Fred's and I hated it.
All right.
Oh God. Okay.
They're taking their bites
All right,
now.
good luck.
So Joe and I are going to be your play-by-play and color commentator here.
All right.
Joe, what do you need when you go into a bout like this?
Ooh, I need a tall glass of milk to cut the spice.
That is one thing they don't have. They have beer, and Fred looks a little unhappy right now.
No, I'm actually just bracing myself because it's not bad now, but I feel like this could be one of those things where give it a moment. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to take a bite again.
Ooh.
Actually, I'm going to do fork and just kind
nice.
of.
Yeah. Yeah, Jasmine looks not upset. Looks.
I think I'm upset that it's like not more painful. Like I kind of expect if you're gonna say this is your spiciest wing, like because I like spice. Like, I grew up with it. I don't enjoy like a buffalo wing where like it's so hot that it hurts to eat. Like I want less than that. But if you're gonna tell me this is your spiciest, like I want to be like tearing up. I think this is actually pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, I think this is a really good tender with really good and like really good depth of flavor. And I'm gonna probably finish mine slowly. Like I like it a lot.
So they say in the atomic sauce at Wingstop is a spicy sauce filled with hot peppers, tomatoes, garlic, onions, vinegar, sugar, and spices. So the peppers they have are habanero, jalapeno, chipotle, and bell peppers.
You can really taste the jalapeno, I think.
I feel like that's not the hottest pepper you can get, though.
Habanero is pretty spicy. But I feel like I've had like mango habanero wings that are spicier than this.
Yeah, the B-dubs mango habanero are spicier than this.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually really like this. I would order this.
Yeah, this is a get again for me. Like I would get these over the buffalo ones. I will say it's not building, but it's sitting on my lips nice with some good. But I like that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I can enjoy then. As long as it's just like not burning my mouth like on fire, I'm okay with that. So you guys wouldn't say these are super hot then at all?
Not at all.
Wow.
I mean, there's like that brand of chips. I think it's like Pocky chips that has like the ghost pepper chip. And I tried that, and that was awful. Like that was a level of spice where I was like, okay, it kind of tastes like a Dorito. It's kind of nice. And then all of a sudden, the spice just like swells in your mouth. You're like, oh my God, like I need milk like right now. And this one, I'm like, okay, like I can actually just like wash this down with a beer and it's like totally fine. Like it's probably too spicy for people who don't like spice. I will give it
Definitely.
that. But
Sure.
I enjoy this level of spice.
Have
This
you guys
is like
done
what
the-
I want every time because
okay.
it slows me. That's what I love about spicy food. We talked about being Joe and I are fast eaters. The spice slows me down a little, and I like that.
Sure. Have you guys done the Blazing Challenge?
No, what's that?
Buffalo Wild Wings, it's like their hottest sauce. It's the Blazing sauce. And they have people who do the Blazing Challenge. And I think it's like, if you can complete it, you get your picture taken or something like that. And you get put up on the Wall of Fame. But it's,
I can take my own damn picture. No, because that's the one I wanted to bring, but I didn't want to buy like 6 of them. When I saw I could get the a la carte tenders, I was like, there we go.
We'll save it for the hot sauce episode, maybe.
Joe's like, I'm out. No,
I'm
thank you.
Sorry.
I'll be here serving the milk.
I got my gloves on.
Because I was going to grab, I always like if I do something spicy, if I have my chalky milk on deck, I just like that because I'm not a milk person, but I forgot and I don't really need it. I got this beer, but it's sitting on me now.
Good. So that brings us then to the end of our episode here today, you guys. And I want to thank you all again for participating in this. But of course, before we depart, we're going to leave some room for some plugs. Anything that you would like to plug first, Joe?
No, I don't have anything in particular to plug. I would say just please support your local art. Go to your local improv theater, comedy club, or anything and show your support.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I think that's definitely good is to check out local art in any form or shape. I mean, improv comedy, stand-up comedy, theater, always good. Jasmine, what about you?
Buy your books from a local bookstore. Don't buy from Amazon. That's it. That's all I got.
Fair enough. Fred, how about you?
I'm just going to say check the Interchange Theater for dates. That's the Interchange Theater in Milwaukee. I'm in 3 groups at the moment, so I'm performing at least once a month. So if you check dates, I'm going to be somewhere.
Sounds great. Yep. And of course, I will just plug the podcast as always. You can check us out on anywhere you get your podcasts. And please rate and review us. Of course, leave us 5 stars if you are feeling so inclined and you're enjoying content like food tournaments. Mm-hmm. We will definitely be having more of those. And if you feel like donating to our cause, please jump on to buymeacoffee.com/SOTF. And you can give us a one-time donation or sign up for a repeat donation. We'll appreciate either one, or we just appreciate you coming back and listening every week. And stay tuned for next time, where we will be talking about a sandwich. We're talking about Jimmy John's.
Mm-hmm. My favorite, well, not my favorite, just my most shameful drunk food, I think.
We'll have to talk about, where it stands on you consuming it and where it stands in your employment history, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because I definitely have that ranking as well. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.